Come on, Arrow.
Hi.
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you?
All right. I'm excellent. How you doing?
Good.
Nice. All right, here we go. You're starting to comment. Oh, lost one there. Lost one. Oh, lost two. The heck? All right, gained one. There we go.
Progress.
All right, well, we had two other people.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Miss Portia.
How you doing?
Good. How was your day?
Good. How was yours?
Good, good. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, thanks for
Hi,
joining.
Day.
Oh, here we go. Amanda's trying to come back.
My dog is trying to kick my computer over. Gotta get that under control.
Amanda, can you hear us? Don't know. Amanda, can you hear us or no? Technical difficulties. Let's see. Rebecca. Oh, here we go. Amanda, can you hear us now? Maybe not. Rebecca, where are you joining us from?
I live in Playa Vista.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. How was your Memorial weekend?
It's really good. It's really nice.
Good. Amanda.
Where's everybody else located?
Right now, the three of us are all in the same area, PA and New York. I started this out in Arizona, where we were doing the gathering with Chad, almost 2 years ago now.
Mhm.
That's where I've been living. But I'm actually out here right now, where my sister is, who is Amber. Amber's my sister.
Hi.
Portia lives in New York here in Binghamton.
Hi.
Well, Amanda can hear us, but okay. That's why we record these. So we can.
Yo, buddy.
My guy.
Hi.
Hey, Jenny.
What's up, homie?
Hey.
Yo, Matthew.
How are you guys doing?
Hi, Matthew.
Better now.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Well, Amanda's still signed in, so maybe she can hear. Alex and Christine are going to join us here. Texting me. Did everybody get a chance to see Sunday's message or not yet?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
phone.
Little different format. It was an interview style Chad did with Robert Morris out of Gateway Church in Texas, I believe. So it's a little different than he normally does, on the stage and with the group. But it was kind of cool. It was more like his podcast setting. They sat at a table and chatted, and Robert Morris is big on the tithing, and he wrote a lot of stuff about it, book and everything. But kind of fit into the Blessed Beyond Your Wildest Dreams series that ZOE's been doing. So it was kind of an extension. It felt like an extension of last week's message. Chad spoke, but it was still really good. Good to get a different perspective and talking about how it changed Robert's life when he was saved by Jesus and when he started tithing for the first time ever. Hey, world traveler, how you doing?
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Christine.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Great. How are you doing?
Good.
Good to
I'm
see-
good. Good to see you guys too. Let me go get some light.
You're gonna bring
the
the light.
dark over here.
Bring the light.
What'd you say?
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna bring the light. What is up? I'm bringing the light. Hi, guys. How is everyone?
So good.
No, I'm on a call, buddy. Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, we'll get started. Everybody's kind of piling in here.
Yeah.
Maybe can join us or not this week, but hopefully she does. We were just talking about the message. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, Christine, yet, but Sundays. It was just a little bit. It was more like a podcast one-on-one interview with Robert Morris, and they were just talking about being blessed and tithing and how important it is, and trusting in God, giving to Him, and you will receive back, and trusting Him with your life. It was a good, interesting kind of interview style, sitting on the stage doing that. So that was really nice.
I just got reception again, so I cannot wait to watch it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I missed this one
Sorry.
because it was different. Because it was like an interview. I'm just gonna go over like the questions, the discussion questions that ZOE sends. And even though not everybody has watched the session, I think these questions are easily answerable by all of us. So if we want to discuss or talk, and so the first one's not much, but so the first question I'm going to read is talking about giving and being generous. When do you find the easiest to be generous, and when do you find the hardest to be generous? So they talked a lot about the past couple weeks about the people that do have trouble tithing, or maybe they don't believe in it as much, or they have an issue with giving money when they go to church, and or just saying like, hey, I can't afford it, or I don't have any money to give. And they really went deep into that last week and this week about that is the trust. It's not really how much money you have. It's the trust that you're giving to God to have your back. So anything matters. He says, the Bible says 10% of what you earn, but anything that you can give, right? Robert Morris talks about this past week about when he was saved and he was just about to get married, first time saved by Jesus, and he really saw Jesus for the first time. That he was making $600 a month, not a week, a month. And he didn't really have anything. He was really just getting by. And the first time he ever tithed, he just grabbed 320s out of his wallet and threw them in, and not really knowing, what it is. And how much to give or how to do it. He just like gave the money he had in his wallet, and went to church again. And he talks about the job he went to. Not even a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, his boss came to him and said that he doesn't know why, but he felt like he was spoken to. He was a religious man too. He felt like he was spoken to, and that he was going to give him a $200 raise at work. So some people can say, "Oh, coincidence or timing," but it's not. That's not the point. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be giving all your trust to God so that He can show up for you. And we always talk about timing, right? I thought that was interesting because it was within like a week. And we talked about timing last time, and it's like that doesn't happen like that always. Sometimes it's the patience. You have to wait it out. You have to be in full trust of Him to show up for you on His timing, because He knows better than you. So just because Robert had that experience, first time ever, first time tithing, gave money, and then he gets a raise next week, that's not always how it's going to play out. And I think that's important to understand. There's patience in this. So, think about these questions. When do you find it the easiest to be generous, and when do you find it the most difficult? Does it always have to do with money? Does it have to do with schedule? Does it have to do with not knowing who to give to? All these are pretty important questions. Like, especially this past year, not a whole lot of people have been going to a church. So how do we give? Normally some of us go, do we give it at church, or do we mail it in? Or some of us haven't been going churches or switching churches. Brandon talked about switching churches because he didn't feel like he was accepted in his old church. Some of that might stop you from doing it or hinder your thought about how much you want to give or why. So those are thoughts to have. Robert Morris talked about how God's wants and desires to bless us always. That's all he wants, right? So, like we said, because there's so many of us, it's a timing thing. He knows when the timing is right for you to be blessed by Him. We have to be patient for that. So, think about examples in your life where you feel like God has blessed your life. Whether it's big or small, we talked about last week, the size of a blessing are all equally important, right? It's not about what we wanted and we got. It's about every single tiny blessing that's receiving every single day.
Right.
Amber today said something that's relevant to this. Is she's been wanting to build this dock for so long at her lake house, and a floating dock, and put it out there for her own space and be out there. And her boyfriend and I were building it today, and she was on the bank. He was making us food and stuff and helping watching. And she just said blessed like 3 times. We weren't talking to her, we were working away. She just said it loud enough for us to hear it. And that she had been praying for how long, Amber? 3 years or 2 years?
Yeah, years for a couple of guys I really love and that love me to show up and help me, because it's always just me. And I'm like such a huge dreamer, and I'm always looking at the space and I can see it all already done. And sometimes it's just a matter of I can't do it all on my own, and it's just about waiting and having faith. And yeah, it was awesome. Super grateful.
Yeah. So again, timing. I mean, little things, right? Tiny things. A floating dock. It's not that. It's not the greatest thing in the world. We built it, and it's a blessing. The principles. Talk about the principles of tithing. It really is deep rooted in trust. Tithing
Right.
is a deep rooted trust thing. It's having trust in God. And Him showing up for you, and trust in the church, that you're giving to. It's not just, I talk about giving to God, but for the church to do great things, it costs money as well. I mean, I think something I had to struggle with early on when I was young was, where's all this money going? You know, I always saw people put money in buckets. You know, it's like, I'm like, where's all this money going? Like, they must be cashing in. Like, there's no taxes here. I was like very analytically thinking about it, and that's what the churches are run off of. It's run off of mostly donations and people giving and growing the community and being able to do these ZOE Connect groups and these ZOE reach out programs that they do in LA, where they go out and they're helping the community. You know, they use the money to help others and then help build and grow the church and bring them back. So when they're going out feeding homeless or helping families that don't have enough, they're also giving them an invitation to church. They're giving them a blessing. They're giving them an invitation to come share God with them. So, you know, that's where the money goes. I mean, it's building the community you're in, that we're in, to be able to do things like this and be able to host through them. So I think that's important to know the principles behind tithing. And it's not just giving the church money because they're asking for it, right?
I really liked what you said last week about, like, we were the family that the church was helping when we were growing up. We grew up in school, in Christian Catholic school, in CCD classes on Wednesdays, on Sunday school, on church on Sunday. You know, every opportunity my mom could have us merged, we were there. But she was a single mom, and we were, you know, doing the best we could, and she worked around the clock, 2 jobs all day, every day. But the church would bring groceries by, the church would give us presents at Christmas, the church would invite us to all kinds of wonderful get-togethers and events where we felt part of a community and part of a greater family. And you know, my mom giving back, I think what we struggled with was that we saw my mom struggling so much, and then there she was every Sunday religiously, literally giving the church money every single week in her envelope. And it was always the church first, because she knew, you know, what it had done for us and for so many people like us, and providing that connection. It was a big deal. But that was her faith, knowing that by giving what little she had first, that it would come back tenfold.
Yeah, 100%. The generosity, you know, have you had an example of somebody, a generous moment or generosity that's impacted you? Is another question that was on the list of, you know, have you had a moment where generosity of somebody else has impacted you? There was a story within there. I'm not going to tell it, so when you guys watch, you'll hear Robert Morris talk about it. But he talks about a man that was going around giving away $100 bills as a testimony of the impact of his unique way of giving. You know, it's not always a way. You know, I'm going to give an example for me. I feel like outside the church, you know, my tithing has always been to try to give through skill. So I can build that, Doc. I know how to build. You know, I mean, that's a giving effort from me. It's a tithe in a way to me that's outside the church, but it's still giving to God, because if I'm giving to people, I'm giving to God. If I'm in service of others, I'm giving to God. So, and besides putting the actual financial part of it, I think tithing goes a little bit further than that. We can make that a non-financial thing too. You know, if there's a moment really you feel like I don't have even $1, or I don't have enough, seriously, start to do it in other ways. Start to give acts, you know, to people around you. Donate to the church in physical form. Show up for them. Ask them what they need. Can I be of service to you guys? Do you need another body? I think those are always good ways to start, or do both, you know? So if there's anybody want to share a time or a moment, you know, like the first couple of questions, and or a time where generosity has really impacted your life, that somebody showed up and, you know, bestowed a blessing upon you in your life, or a blessing that showed up. So any of the questions I asked, anybody want to share anything?
I want to share something. So, okay. So first of all, like what I actually wanted to share before was when you were talking about blessings, right? And how, you know, we think about the blessings that we get in our life, and we think about blessings so often as like these huge things, right? That happen like once off, but in reality, the blessings are there every single day. And the more we pay attention to the blessings that we're receiving, the more we're going to notice how blessed we are. But I'm going to go now and answer the question that you were asking. And the question, like for me, there was a moment during the pandemic in the early phases of it when the kids and I were really sick. I'm pretty sure we had the Rona, honestly, like we were like dead sick. And I had 2 rolls of toilet paper left in the house. And there was no toilet paper in any stores. And the kids and I were just like dirt sick. Like we were so sick. We were in so much pain. And I had no groceries because we had just been on vacation. It was just like not a good time. And one of my girlfriends sends me a message and she's like, hey girl, I'm going to Costco. Is there anything you need? And I was like, I would like die for some toilet paper right now. Like, I'm not even joking. Like I really need toilet paper. And so she's like, all right, I'll look. And so she goes to a Costco that's not close to her. And she's like, all right, I'm on my way to your house. And she shows up to my house with an entire, like the big Costco size thing of toilet paper and a whole case of groceries for my kids and I. And at the time I was like super, super, super duper struggling financially. And that just like touched me so deeply. And it was just such a gentle act, right? And such a gift that came from such a place of love that it just kind of sparked me. So just wanted to share that our gifts to others and to the church are so big.
I love that. I think that brings up the fact that story brings up how it affects others. Sometimes we don't give something to somebody because we don't feel like maybe they don't need it, or maybe it's not enough. And you don't feel like you're giving them enough.
Right. Yeah.
The other side of it, I mean, listen to her talk about how important that small thing was. Like somebody already at the grocery store, already there. That's not really much to do, but for her, huge moment. So yeah, it's a great way to look at both sides of generosity and blessing. Is like nothing's too little to give to somebody else.
Exactly. Like we can never overlook the smallest act because it can be so impactful to everyone down the line.
I love that. I love that. Anybody else want to share any moments of generosity or a blessing in your life was bestowed upon you, or even something maybe you've done, where you stepped up for somebody else and you watched the impact that it had on them?
Matt, what do you got?
Oh, there we go. Matt in the middle.
Hey, it's me. It's kind of just, I mean, I feel like that I kind of like Christine was saying, I get blessed so often that it just like, I kind of get I don't know, like a used to it or immune to it in a way. But there was one time when it was just like a timing thing, and I was going like hang around with some wrong friends, and I was really struggling like mentally and then just financially at the time. And this was probably like 10, 11 years ago. And those McDonald's Monopoly games.
Yeah.
Well, like, anyways, I don't know if you guys know anyone that won, but like I ended up getting lucky one time and I won $5,000 from McDonald's. What? Yeah.
What?
True story.
Wow, Matt.
Anybody that won $1.
I didn't believe it was real.
Right. So it was just like I was with a friend and we were like going out running some errands, and he was like, hey, I got to pick up my girlfriend some lunch for work or whatever. He's like, you want to come? And I was like, sure. So, I didn't have a car at the time. He came pick me up, and I must have had like maybe $10, $20 in my name. And we went to the drive-thru, and I bought like a big nugget value meal, which was like $5, $10, and I ended up winning 5,000. So with that money, they were gift cards to McDonald's, and I kind of like sold some to somebody and got some cash, and then reinvested that money, and I bought like a laptop and a new camera, and that really like sparked me to like keep dreaming and doing what I do. So that was awesome.
That's
Cool.
It's an amazing story. I was with Christine. I thought that was fake. I'm gonna start hitting that place up again.
Right.
Amazing story. I love that. Portia, Rebecca, anything you want to say? You want to share?
I think for me, just coming across the Connect group, that's a blessing. Because that was something that I needed in my life for sure. I needed connection and community. And it was like just one day it all came together for sure. And it was just like I had been waiting and waiting and waiting and putting in the effort, and it definitely all paid off.
I wanna piggyback off yours because, yeah, Portia is the sister of a good friend of mine that I did in high school, but we all went within years of each other to school. But I was closer to her brother. When I came back this time to spend time with my sister, we really connected through. I was talking to her parents, and then her parents said something to her, and then she reached out. And anyway, she's been part of this, but her saying that is a prime example of what we just said with Christine. Like, you don't know what side is getting more of a blessing. Portia has consistently written me 5 to 8 messages a day of just pure raw kindness and like straight from the heart notes and encouragement and like anything you could possibly ever want from a human being to hear every single day. She doesn't miss a day, 7 days a week. My phone is like, hey, Mr. Pinky, and it's just like, and it's in at first, and I've told this to her, I had a conversation that I feel guilty that I'm not responding enough because I feel bad that I'm sometimes when I'm doing a lot of stuff, I'm not good at responding, but when she's hitting me like really heartfelt like these things and telling me I'm great them. So I think for me, it's a way bigger blessing in that to have somebody in my corner like almost every day reminding me why I'm doing things or what the impact is or my mirror of seeing myself of who I am is freaking huge for me. So I want to thank you. That's my blessing. So right back at you.
Say something that, well, one, a lot of the times the things that I do right, they don't like warrant a response. You know what I mean? Like, I know I sent them, and same thing, like if I sent some number, it's not like, I know you saw it, you know, or if I ever ask you guys a question, you always respond. It's not like you don't ever leave me hanging, you know? So if there's something like you do have to respond to, you do respond to it. So, but the other thing is I want to put out, like, I think it's the smallest of the blessings that are always have the most value and the most reward, because I wouldn't have reached out if you hadn't asked my mom how I was doing, because I wouldn't have really gotten curious about it. And I was like so touched by that, because I know so many people and my mom sees so many people and no one ever asked her that. You know what I mean? This is like, these small words meant so much to me that I knew that there was something there that I had to do. I knew there was something I had to do.
I love you to death. I'm glad that we connected because you're freaking amazing. You are literally God speaks through you every day. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and with all that you've gone through, I challenged you I met you once for 24 hours and told you what I do for a living, and you literally have not missed a day in like 3 months. She's a volunteer corner man for the Rock Steady boxing program for people with Parkinson's, and she has her own struggles and things that she deals with, and she shows up every single Monday and Wednesday. She does not get paid. And she just lights up the life of these people with these disabilities that are there fighting for their life every single day. And she just comes in like she has zero problems and zero pain herself and just lights up the room for them every single week without being reminded, without asking anything, just amazing. And, you know, it's God calling us to action. It's God calling us to serve. And people always ask me all the time, like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just waiting for my working papers. Like, I don't know. I gotta figure out where I'm supposed to show up next. You know?
You never know where you're going to be.
Yeah. Well, Rebecca, you can share if you like or if not. It's okay too. I know you're new here, but it's a blessing that you joined us. I mean, that's, again, small things that are done. Small things are big things. So I'm glad that you joined us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me too. I really appreciate it. It's so good to be connected. And, especially going through this pandemic, being able to connect online with the body of Christ it's been huge. It's been really huge. So I'm glad to be here. I have a small blessing story.
Yes.
It actually has been the cornerstone for my tithing. So I didn't really tithe for a long time, and I felt very, I guess, jealous of my money. Like, this is the little bit that I have, and I'm just trying to survive. I don't understand why I have to give, kind of a thing. And I didn't understand what the church did with it. So, but the Lord moved on my heart, I guess about 5 years ago. I was in a church service and he said, I want you to give $10. And like in my pride, I was like, no, I'm going to give 20 because this is all me and my strength. And the Lord was like really strict about it. It has to be 10. So I gave 10, and less than a week later, I had to have a surgery. And a friend, a former colleague that I hadn't really talked to in a year and a half, I reached out to him to drive me to and from surgery because nobody else was available. So on the way back, the doctor gave me pain medicine prescription, and my colleague that I hadn't seen in a year and a half, who just miraculously agreed to take care of me, went in and got the prescription, and it was for $10. So less than a week later, the Lord had given me back 100% of what I'd given to him.
Right.
So
I love
ever since then, I've been like, no, I've got to be jealous for tithing. So
I love that. I love that what you say, that how you say it like that. I was jealous of my money. I've felt that. And
Yeah.
that makes sense. That resonated. That really makes sense. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have two stories that, might seem small, but are huge to me, especially in the whole picture of my life in whole. Several years ago, 10 or 12 years ago, I was going through a divorce from my best friend who I was with for 16 years, and he had issues with alcohol. And, without getting into it, he's an absolutely amazing human being, and all the things, but it didn't work. And we sold our house, and I was again, like in my 30s, starting over for the first time, like all by myself. And I ended up just through fate, through degrees of separation, kind of a connect situation, just one person and another stranger said, hey, there just happens to be this place that will take dogs. I had 220-pound black labs, so it was very hard for me to find a place by myself. And I was just on my own salary. I was just starting out teaching, and I get to this place on the very first day, and literally it was like everything was lined up for me. There was just this little tiny cabin on this huge 33-acre farm with this whole family that was like a family I had never witnessed before, because we had struggled so much growing up, and this was like a family you would dream of. And I drive down this long driveway, and it's like I was welcomed into like some hobbit land. It was like heaven on earth. Every tree and plant was placed perfectly for me. And I moved in. He immediately, my friend of the friend said, this is David and this is Amber, and she's going to be moving in. And I hadn't even made the decision myself. And he welcomed me in, and I was moving in, and everything was just unfolding. And then I got there, and I realized that I had no idea. And this goes with our constant theme of like not realizing that we are the living Christ, that we are God, that we must honor ourselves the way that we honor God, and like treat ourselves as such. And I could not receive love. I could not receive kindness. I could not. My landlord and his family were these like perfect people, and I was watching them outside my window like some weird redheaded stepchild or something. And I was like, he kept coming over with lasagna and like Oreos and banana cream pie and like all these things, and I was like hitting the floor hiding because I felt unworthy, and I felt like weird and strange and uncomfortable, and I couldn't receive love, and I felt like they were weird, and it was like me that was weird, and I was just like, why can't I receive this love? And it took me many years to like open the door when I saw him coming and be like, what do you have, tacos? And it was just simple things, but it was about me feeling like, wow, somebody cares that I'm alive or hungry or alone or need something, or that I'm a part of something or whatnot. And fast forward, a decade later and this pandemic and living alone and working alone and doing the best I can every single day. And like what Rebecca said, like trying to not be jealous of my time and how hard I worked and the money that I made and where to put it. And like Portia said last week about like giving with a grateful heart and like without wanting anything in return, but still some part of our ego saying like, poor me, what about me? Like, is anyone gonna like notice what I'm doing here? Like, I'm doing God's work, I'm doing everything I can. And you pray and you believe and you manifest, and then one day, like my little brother has been here for a year, and it's so crazy after like 18 years of being adults and just living out our lives in different places, and like then the world changes, and then all of a sudden you're in a situation that you just are so humbled by, because like the worst things bring all this connection and all this good and people around you that want to love you and do things for you, and just we're all enough, and it's a big deal. But it's the little things, sometimes it's not just the giving, but it's also the receiving. Like, can you even receive what God has for you? And are you ready when he shows up?
Yeah. I think you
That
bring up
one's so big. Sorry.
you bring up a huge point there, Amber, that maybe in all of this that, for us, definitely, us being together now was forced by what happened this year. I mean, but when you say that, can we imagine that this is a bigger plan by God? That COVID wasn't
Right.
a disease that we got sick, people died, but it was more about the fact that it wanted to slow us down and have connections and reconnect and be closer to one another and reflect on our lives and what we're doing for ourselves and for others in the world. Can you imagine if it was just his doing? This is supposed to be happening, and it was supposed to be hard, and it was supposed to be devastating to some, and it was supposed to put life in perspective right in front of our eyes this close, so that I could spend time with my sister for the first time, and I mean, honestly, our whole lives. That I would stop working, which is crazy for me to say out loud, because I don't even know how to do that my whole life. So I don't know. I think that this whole thing has been, what some would say unfortunate, but a blessing. I mean, I think we'll come out of this in a huge way, and that there's such a bigger plan backside of this thing. As you talk about hills and valleys all the time, like it's coming up. We're back on the up, and the peak is going to be, I think, higher than we've ever experienced in our life. You get to the top of the roller coaster, you start getting that feeling like, when are we going to get the rush? I think we're going to be on the highest one we've ever seen, and I'm super excited for it. And I'm super blessed. Me personally, my blessings are this: like, I had a hard time walking away from work. That's all I've ever known. I've never not known how to work, because for us growing up, work was survival. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't you can be anything or do anything. It was, you don't work, you don't get nothing. And we didn't work, we didn't have nothing. And my sister said, my mom gave her last dollar to the church, even when we needed dollars. So if we needed something, you had to go get it. And you didn't have a choice, like what I want to do or what I want to be. It was like work to survive. So COVID's been a blessing for me. I keep telling people that, and they look at me like a crazy person, but it really has been a blessing for me to calm myself. So I appreciate you guys. You are my blessing. I love you guys joining every week. We're running out of time here, but go check that YouTube out and watch the match. It's really good. I love all you guys. I super appreciate you coming in every single time. It means literally the world to me. So I'll see you all next Monday. Happy Memorial Day. Matthew, thank you for your service, man. Appreciate you, dude.
I didn't serve. That's my dad's in the service.
That was your dad's card?
No, that was me, but I was like, I'm his son, so I have privileges to
Same. It's a handout.
For sure.
Get you, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate you all. Love you. Have a wonderful
Love you
night.
guys.
I guess.
Bye.
Everybody, have a great night.